Yo, what is up, Vikings Nation? Victor here, and man, this week has been a lot. Like, seriously, two things dropped that when you put them together, tell you everything about where this team is right now. And I had to get on here and break it down with y'all because this is one of those moments where the offseason actually starts to feel real. You know what I'm saying? First, a guy we counted on is gone, traded, just like that, draft weekend. They shipped him out. And look, I'm not here to panic, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous about our edge rusher depth right now. A young first-round pick is ready to step up, another veteran is locked in, but behind those two, we're talking undrafted guys with basically zero proven experience at that level. Our defensive coordinator is going to need to go shopping, and we're going to talk about exactly who's still out there that could fix this. And then, on top of that, the Vikings are still out here interviewing candidates for one of the most important jobs in the building. 9 names on the list now. 9. And some of these guys have deep Vikings roots. Some have history with our head coach. Some bring that old school scouting DNA that ownership has been loud about wanting. This search is moving fast, and whoever lands that job is going to have a direct impact on the decisions being made this summer, including, by the way, whoever they bring in to rush the passer. So, yeah, one team, 2 massive storylines, and both of them matter more than people are giving them credit for right now. We're getting into all of it today. But before we do, if you're new here, subscribe and drop a like. Real talk. We're pushing hard to hit 6,000 subscribers, and every single one of you makes a difference. Help us get there. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's talk about this Greenard situation, because I think some fans are sleeping on how real this is. Jonathan Greenard is gone, traded during draft weekend. And look, I get it. The front office made their move, they got their return, whatever. But now we got to live with the consequences. And the consequences are that our edge rusher depth took a serious hit. Here's the thing. Before this trade, we had a legit 3-man rotation on the edge. Turner, Van Ginkel, and Greenard cycling through. That's real pressure. That's real depth. Now, behind Turner and Van Ginkel, we've got Bo Richter, Tyler Batty, and Chaz Chambliss, 3 former undrafted free agents, none of them with more than 3 years of experience. I'm not hating on those guys. Everyone deserves a shot. But be honest with yourself. That's not the same. That's a completely different level of proven production, and Brian Flores knows it. So the question now is, who does Minnesota go get? And I've been going back and forth on this because there are actually some really interesting names still available. Let me walk you through them. First name up, Leonard Floyd. Now I know what you're thinking. 33 years old, coming off the worst season of his career stat-wise, 3.5 sacks, 19 pressures, both career lows. On paper, that looks rough. But hold on. The year before that, 8.5 sacks. And here's the detail that actually matters to me. Kevin O'Connell and Floyd played together on the Rams. KOC knows this guy, knows his personality, knows what he brings to a locker room, knows how he practices. That familiarity has value, especially when you're just looking for a rotational piece, not a starter. I wouldn't hate this signing at all. Next, A.J. Epinesa. 27 years old, 6'6", 260 pounds. This dude is massive. He's never had a breakout season, but he's hit at least 6 sacks in 3 of his 6 years, and almost all of that came in a backup role. He's never really been given the keys. Maybe Minnesota's coaching staff looks at that size, that motor, and thinks, we can unlock something here. It's a low-risk, potentially high-reward kind of move. I'm curious about this one. Now, Von Miller. Listen, I know he's 37. I know he's not the Von Miller of 2015 anymore. But 9 sacks last season, starting only 3 games? That's not a guy who's done. That's a guy who still knows how to win one-on-one matchups when it counts. And the Super Bowl connection with O'Connell is real. They've done it together before. Would I build my defense around Von Miller in 2025? No. But as a rotational pass rusher who's been there and done that, yeah, I'd make that call. Jadeveon Clowney. Okay, this one genuinely excites me a little. Number 1 overall pick in 2014, somehow still only 33 years old. He went to the Cowboys last year, started just 6 games, appeared in 13, and still put up 8.5 sacks. over 20 pressures in each of the last 3 seasons. This guy has a high floor and a high ceiling, and he's available. If the price is right, Clowney makes this defense legitimately scary again. And then there's Joey Bosa, 5-time Pro Bowler, won't even turn 31 until July. Last season, he generated 24 pressures, which, by the way, is the exact same number that Dallas Turner and Greenard each had to lead our team. Think about that. Bosa isn't asking to be the guy. He just needs to be a guy. And for a Vikings defense that needs proven pass rush depth, Bosa fits perfectly. This might actually be my #1 target on this list if I'm being real with you. So yeah, the Greenard trade stings a little, but the options are there. Brian Flores is a smart defensive mind, KOC has connections across the league, and this front office has shown they're willing to move fast when the right guy is available. We saw that with Juwan Jennings. It can happen again. The edge rusher room isn't done being built. At least, I hope not. But here's the thing. None of these moves happen in a vacuum. Who's actually making these calls? Who's sitting in that war room deciding which pass rusher gets the call, which contract gets signed, which direction this defense goes? Because right now, the Vikings still don't have a permanent general manager. And what's been happening behind the scenes on that search? That's where things get really interesting. And that's exactly what we're getting into next. Okay, before we get into this second story, if you're still here watching, first of all, thank you. That means everything. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now. We're chasing 6,000 subscribers on this channel, and we are so close. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video. It takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps us keep bringing you this content every week. All right, let's get into it. So we just talked about the edge rusher situation. Greenard gone, depth thinner, Brian Flores needing to go find somebody. But here's what makes all of that even more complicated. The Vikings still don't have a permanent general manager. And the search, it just got bigger. Minnesota has now requested virtual interviews with 9 assistant GMs from around the league. 9. The latest 3 added to the list are Ray Agnew from the Detroit Lions, Reed Burkhardt from the Denver Broncos, and Kyle Smith from the Miami Dolphins. And when you look at this list as a whole, a very clear picture starts to emerge about what this organization actually wants. Every single one of these candidates, except one, comes from a traditional scouting background. That is not a coincidence. That is a message. Owner Mark Wilf has been saying it out loud since January. They want a GM who controls the roster, leans on the scouts, and fits within the structure that already exists in that building. They're done with the analytics first experiment. They want old school football people running this thing. And honestly, after what we saw the last couple of years, I understand it. Now let me tell you about these 3 new names, because each one of them has a real connection to this organization. Reed Burkhardt is actually a former Vikings scout. The guy spent 13 seasons with Minnesota. 13! He was here long enough to evaluate Adam Thielen as an area scout. And if you know anything about Thielen's story, an undrafted kid who became one of the best receivers in Vikings history, then you know that takes a real eye for talent. Burkhardt eventually became the pro scouting director before heading to Denver with George Paton. He knows this organization from the inside. He knows the culture, he knows the people, he knows what it means to be a Viking. That's not nothing. Ray Agnew from Detroit is 58 years old and brings serious experience. He was the Rams pro personnel director from 2017 to 2020, which means he and Kevin O'Connell were in the same building at the same time. That familiarity matters. O'Connell is going to have a huge say in who gets this job, and if he already has a working relationship and a level of trust with someone, that's a major advantage. And then there's Kyle Smith, just hired as Miami's assistant GM this offseason, but before that he spent 11 seasons in Washington, where again KOC was the offensive coordinator, another guy with a direct connection to the head coach. And get this, Smith actually started his NFL career as an undrafted free agent with Minnesota back in 2006. He's the son of former Chargers GM A.J. Smith. This is literally a football family, and he has roots here. Now, I do want to mention the one name on this list who stands out differently.
Rob Brzezinski, the team's current EVP of football operations and acting GM. He's the only candidate who does not come from a scouting background. But here's the thing. KOC and college scouting director Mike Shalatin both praised him highly for how he ran the front office through the draft. Executives around the league have noticed too. Some people are even floating the idea of pairing Brzezinski with a new GM in some kind of shared structure. I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. Part of me thinks you just need to pick a direction and commit, but I get why his name stays in the conversation. The timeline on all of this is moving fast. Virtual interviews are happening right now this week. In-person interviews are expected after Memorial Day, and the plan is to have a new GM hired by the end of the month. So we're talking weeks, not months. This thing is about to get resolved. And that matters. It matters a lot. Because here's the bigger picture, and this is where I want to bring it all together for you. We talked about the edge rusher situation. Greenard gone, depth thin, Brian Flores needs another pass rusher before this season kicks off. Those are real decisions that need to be made right now during the offseason while free agents are still available and the market is still open. And at the same time, the team doesn't have a permanent GM to make those calls. You see how those two things connect? Every day that goes by without a GM is another day where the edge rusher market gets thinner. Joey Bosa, Jadeveon Clowney, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, those guys aren't going to wait forever. The team that calls first, moves confidently, gets the deal done, that's the team that wins this offseason chess match. So, when I look at everything happening with the Vikings right now, here's how I feel. Cautiously hopeful, but very aware of the clock. The pieces are there, the candidates are serious, the coaching staff has real connections to multiple names on both the GM list and the pass rusher market. Kevin O'Connell has earned the right to have a real voice in shaping this roster, but this organization needs to move. Stop interviewing, start deciding. Get the GM in place, let that person make the call on the pass rusher, build the depth that Brian Flores needs to run that defense the right way. Because this team has a window. We all feel it. The roster is talented, the coaching staff is good, the schedule will come and go whether we're ready or not. So Vikings, get it together. Make the hire, sign the edge rusher, and let's go into this season with no more excuses. That's what I need from this front office, and I think every single one of you watching this feels the same way. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, you're a real one. Seriously, drop a like, leave a comment telling me which GM candidate you're most excited about, and subscribe if you haven't yet. We're pushing hard for 6,000, and with your help, we're gonna get there. I'm Victor, this is Report Vikings, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's go Minnesota.